Welcome to Tech Topics brought to you by Cybervenger. We help keep small businesses stay protected and compliant with cutting-edge cybersecurity and IT solutions.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Andy. I'm the managing consultant for Cybervenger. Today we're going to go into another one of our deep dives into the 110 controls of the NIST 800-171 standard. Now, for those who don't know, this standard is there to make sure that companies building things, widgets, and whatnot for the Department of Defense are storing data, particularly controlled unclassified information, or CUI, in a particular manner as prescribed by the 110 controls of the NIST 800-171. So we're going to go into the control 3.3.3 today. We talked about the earlier ones before that, and this one's another one about logging and auditing. So if we look down here, we'll see we are at 3.3.3. And it just says review and update log events. It's kind of vague, right? But if you go over here, it talks a little more about what specifically that means. The idea is with logging, you're always dealing with this challenge of noise versus actionable information. So there's all kinds of things being logged all the time, most of which are absolutely useless information to you. But you never know what's going to be useful and what's not. Over time, you begin to understand what events are relevant to your environment and which ones are not. In the case of Windows event logs, we can take a look at something that's pretty common. We'll bring up my workstation's event log as a sample here. So if we look here, you'll see very typically you've got these distributed COM error messages. Now, a lot of times Windows does plug and play and other functions. It'll try doing a COM call and it fails because the thing's not there. It's not a real error you need to worry about. So if I was building an alerting system that was telling me every time an error happened, you would probably want to filter it out so that event 10,000 or 10,016 don't show up and don't make noise. It's there in the logging if you need to look for it, if you need to dig deeper and see what else is going on. You had the history information, but you don't really necessarily want it clogging up your dashboard or your alert system, taking your attention away from other events like failed login attempts. A failed login attempt, especially lots of failed login attempts, is a really good indicator that someone is trying to break into your system. That's something you should be aware of. If suddenly a bunch of accounts were being, failed login attempts, you may want to make sure that those accounts are, they should two-factor anyway, but you may want to try to investigate who's trying to get in there, why it's those accounts. Maybe that particular account information got leaked and the only thing keeping them out is the password, or perhaps the only thing keeping out is the two-factor authentication, that kind of thing. You'd want to know about that information. You might want to know about your disk access or disk space, but maybe you do or maybe you don't want to know how much disk time there is. Let's say you have 1,000 workstations. Is it really relevant to you as a system administrator, as a security administrator, to know whether or not the disk speed and disk performance is good or bad? Now, in an ideal world, we want to know this information, but in the case of a workstation, you probably want to let the user call you or not. It depends on the organization. It's a lot of details, a lot of attention that could be taking you away from more important stuff. So these kind of judgment calls are something system administrators have been running in since networking began. And that's exactly what the purpose of this control is, to remind us that you need to make these judgment calls and that they change over time, that you should review them. You should look at the kind of alerts, dig a little deeper, see what you're getting, dig around on the internet, talk to security professionals and see if maybe some of these alerts really are something you want to be viewing, or maybe they're something you can get off your radar. The goal of any logging and alerting particularly, is to have actionable information that you can work on. If you know there's a specific IP is constantly trying to log in with bogus logins, then maybe you want to just block that IP address entirely. Or maybe it's an entire country that tends to do that. Maybe you don't do business with, anything in the Asian continent. Block it off, right? Limit your attack surface. So all this information is useful, but it does need to be curated and monitored on a regular basis. Not just the content of the log itself, but how your logging and your monitoring works. Separating the difference between storing information, which is always good, with acting on information and being alerted, having your attention drawn to something. Actually, storage is important too, because event logs are not infinite. You can store all kinds of stuff. You could store file access, you could store failed file access, you could store, permissions change, and you need to sit down and think about who you're trying to protect against and what they're going to be going after to design your logging to match that. That's all that controller really says, so that's all I've got for today. I'm Andy with Cybervenger. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has provided valuable information to you. Be sure to share this video with other small business owners to spread the word about the importance of cybersecurity. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want more information about cybersecurity, visit us at www.cybervenger.com.